I ignored some major red flags in the beginning of a friendship about a year ago, and because of that, it ended up blowing up in my face. So I want to tell you exactly what red flags I missed that I ignored at the time so that this doesn't happen to you. There's three huge ones, but two things I need to say first. Number one, unpopular opinion, and maybe it's situational, but it definitely applies to this situation. Toxic to me is not a personality type, it is a relationship dynamic. And so this was a toxic relationship through and through, but I'm saying from the jump that I was guilty in some of this as well. However, some of those red flags were not my fault. Me ignoring them, definitely my fault. And I have learned from that. Number two, all three of these major red flags fall under the umbrella of me ignoring that this person had traits that were consistent with past unhealthy relationships I had had. And so my failure to see the patterns is what caused this pattern of toxic, for me, codependent friendships to repeat. I am not ashamed of anything that happened in this relationship on either side because I am someone who likes to move forward, learn my lessons, not repeat the patterns that don't feel good, and to grow as a person. However, I don't want to ever be in a friendship like this again. I don't want to be the person I was in this friendship again either. And so I think this is so incredibly important to learn from, both for me and for you, so that you don't end up in another toxic relationship either. I'm Sarah. I'm a life coach. If you want help with your people pleasing, with your tendency to ignore your own needs or not be able to speak your needs in relationships or just in your life in general, that's a huge part of what I help my clients with because I've learned so much in this process. There's always a link in the description of the video to book a consultation with me. It's a free 30 minutes. We can chat about it and see if there's any more ways that I can help you. And so the first thing that I ignored and that I actually labeled as like me being empathetic, me repeating the pattern of feeling like I need to be able to help or save or serve the person that I'm in a friendship or relationship with. The thing I ignored that was a huge red flag was that this person didn't take great care of themselves mentally or physically. And it wasn't their fault, but it was something that was really not healthy for me to be surrounded by. So if you don't know me already, I'm Sarah. I'm a life coach. I started my career as a body image coach after going through eating disorder recovery and weight gain myself. And so I have a history of a really messed up relationship with food and my body. I've worked incredibly hard to heal that part of myself, and it's something that I now protect so aggressively. Like my boundaries around my peace in that area of my life are so strong. I'm open-minded, but I know what I like and what I don't want. At the time though, my boundaries were not strong with this. And so this person really struggled with their relationship with food, really struggled with their body image and body dysmorphia, and would bring that into the relationship, right? Like I don't want to hate on someone that was struggling, but they brought that insecurity into the friendship by making comments that were triggering for me and also making comments about my choices. And they were someone that myself as well in the past, I've always been stubborn. We both like couldn't be wrong. We needed to be right because if we were wrong, our perfectionism and feeling unheard, our abandonment wounds were triggered. And so this would constantly come up, and instead of being able to have a boundary around it or just let it go, it was directly impacting me in a negative way. So regardless of what your personal experience or history is, how you avoid this red flag showing up in your life, aka you being friends with someone who puts you back into a time in your life where you maybe didn't take the best care of yourself or you didn't have the healthiest mindsets, is to know what mindsets you've healed yourself from, and then actively, consciously ask yourself, does this person that I'm starting a friendship with, do they embody the kind of mindsets and perspectives and habits that I want to have, that I think are essential for me to be mentally and physically well? They don't need to be a freaking bodybuilder and be the perfect person. It's not about someone being this perfect role model for us. It's just, is the way that they see the world is their energy going to put me back in a place that was just personally not healthy. I don't want to make a judgment on how someone else lives their life, how they think, where they're at in their healing journey, but I also don't have to be friends with everybody just because I feel bad for them or I understand where they're at. I can send them love and I can go my own direction. But at the time, I didn't do that. The second red flag that was really strong, and again, like, was comfortable for me because I'd repeated that pattern so many times, was some really strong signs of codependency. Number one being that they really didn't like when I had other friends. And when I wanted to make a new friend or I wanted to go spend time with a mutual friend, but they couldn't be there or they weren't invited, they would manipulate me and make me feel like I was a bad friend for abandoning them or for not having them there, even though it had nothing to do with me. It was like their availability and schedule, or just that they weren't friends with this person. And they would outwardly say things like, don't leave me, don't abandon me, I don't want you to become friends with her and forget about me. Really hard to hear because, again, I have so much empathy for that person. I've also struggled with female friendships and being bullied and just wanting to be accepted, not wanting to be abandoned in my own life. That doesn't mean that I shouldn't have had boundaries. And that doesn't mean that I shouldn't have clocked that red flag. And so if you know that codependency is something that you can fall into, because it takes two to tango, you can't be codependent with just one person, the co is there, then you need to look out for things like that as well. And again, it's no hate on the other person. It's just having really strong boundaries and asking yourself, do I feel like I can be myself around this person? That brings us to the third red flag that I ignored, which was that I didn't feel safe disagreeing with this person. So when the codependency came out, they wanted to spend time with me or they just didn't want to be alone. And so they would make plans for us with the assumption that I will be attending, not really asking me if I could be there, but just assuming we're best friends, so we'll go together, right? I didn't speak up. I didn't have boundaries. I did not feel safe saying, I don't want to do that. I can't do that. I don't need that. I don't feel the same way. I disagree with you. It was never safe to have an alternate opinion. And so that was just something that I really should have listened to myself a lot more about and checked in with myself throughout the relationship so that I could have recognized I actually don't feel good. I actually don't feel completely safe around this person. Got to be able to check when your own triggers might be coming out, but it's also really important to trust your gut and trust your intuition. And that's why with dating and also with friendships, I just always recommend that you go slow. Like, we don't need to meet and instantly be best friends because friendship and relationships as well, they take time to build. Otherwise, it's just attachment. And that's what codependency is a lot of times. And so go slow, take time in between hangouts, trust your gut, listen to your intuition, and you're a lot less likely to fall into an unhealthy relationship and repeat past patterns that you know don't feel good. So that's my 2 cents. I had this relationship blow up in my face because I didn't listen to any of this. I didn't know any of this really myself until this experience. And then all of a sudden afterwards, I finally saw the patterns of like, oh, it happened again. Because I had friendships like this in college. Like I had dramatic codependent friendships so many times. And again, it takes two to tango with codependency. So I can own that now. But this relationship made me neglect myself and also therefore not be the best friend to this person either that I could have been. And I don't want to go down that path again. So being able to just listen to yourself, listen to your boundaries, recognize major red flags, whatever those mean to you, but these are some of the ones for me as a former people pleaser, as a perfectionist, as anxiously attached in the past. It can really change how your friendships turn out. This one blew up in my face because I didn't listen to any of my needs, and then it literally blew up like in my face. Like instead of ever being able to just like have a healthy conversation and speak my needs, neither of us ever said any of the shit that was bothering us, and then our friendship ended in one sudden blowout fight after like over a year. And that didn't feel good for either of us. It was nasty. It was hurtful. I just sat there and cried the whole time while this person tore me apart about all of these things that I didn't even realize they were upset with me for. And I had to sit with that afterwards and ask myself, like, how have I been a bad friend? How could I have been a better friend? And how did I let this person treat me in a way that isn't actually in alignment with how I deserve to be treated? And so, again, we had a toxic dynamic. I don't think that this person was toxic. I don't think that they treated me very well either. But I can also own how I didn't treat them the greatest as well. When we're building relationships, what really matters is your ability to have the self-awareness to slow down, check in with yourself, and see those red flags so that you can hit the brakes before it blows up in your face. I'm Sarah. I'm a life coach. If you want help with your people pleasing, with your tendency to ignore your own needs or not be able to speak your needs in relationships or just in your life in general, that's a huge part of what I help my clients with because I've learned so much in this process. There's always a link in the description of the video to book a consultation with me. It's a free 30 minutes. We can chat about it and see if there's any more ways that I can help you. And otherwise, I post a video every week. Please like and subscribe. Add a comment about what red flags you've ignored in the past in your friendships and what patterns you're working to break. I'm so proud of you. I can't wait to read what you have to say. Yeah, that makes sense. I will see you next week. I love you.